right, hi everybody. My name is Arbel Bedak, and I'm with Spectra Creative Agency. I'm very excited to be here to host and present Declinazioni, the premiere broadcast. And with me is composer and sound artist Marco Caricola, come to us live from Bari, Italy. And before we jump into the performance, I'm going to have Marco tell us a little bit about what we're about to see. So thanks for being here, Marco. And we'll talk a lot more about it later, but just give us a little bit about what we're going to be listening to and seeing.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here. It's wonderful for Declinazioni. This is a experimental scattered across 24 cities around the world. The piece generated itself, and over the years, they've a very general temperamentality, so it really builds itself up as we move across. Every musician participating is also asked to show us a little bit of their surroundings, just to give us a suggestion on where they're from, where they inhabit, what it's like to live in surroundings that are places, including this one in Houston, with the place where pretty much lived all of this. So yeah, hopefully good.
Amazing. Thank you, Marco. So without further ado, I would suggest if you have good headphones, probably put those on. And remember, we'll be coming back for a great live Q&A with a few of the artists, including Marco, and also Rebekka Karijord, EmmoLei Sankofa, and Drum and Lace. So please enjoy Declinazioni.
Right about now, in Georgia, you might hear the cicadas outside of your window. Sweet Georgia. The good old South. Creatures becoming numbed, kindness, eternal patriots. Weakness, vulnerable souls. Tears, songs of beauty and its memory. Dreams, grateful for a wandering life. Mystery, praise to human emotions, silence, jarred by ethereal evanescence. Prisoners of empathy. In castles of sand and stones.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that performance. It's pretty mind-blowing, personally, at least, I think. But welcome back. And I'm very excited to be joined by Marco Caricola again, who hopefully will be able to hear. I think that was actually on my end. So we'll see if this works out, hopefully. As well as three amazing artists who also took part in this. So we have Rebekka Karijord, who's coming to us from Stockholm, Sweden, and EmmoLei Sankofa, who's coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia, in the US, and Drum and Lace, also known as Sophia Holtquist, who is coming to us here in Los Angeles, where I am as well. So thanks for joining us, everybody. And we're gonna kick off a little Q&A here and chat about what we just experienced, which was just incredible, if I might say so myself. So firstly, let's talk to the man who curated this amazing endeavor, Marco Caricola, who's coming to us from Bari, Italy. So Marco, especially since nobody could hear you the first time, and I will say, like, please write in the chat if you're still not hearing any of the people on the Q&A, and I will try to do my best, and if worst comes to worst, we'll have to just record something separately and we'll like post it as well. But that's, live television for you. But Marco, please tell us a little bit about how this came to be and what the inspiration was behind this.
Sure. I'm saying hi to everyone again. I hope you can hear me. The introduction, funny enough, was the only bit I had prepared. So it's glad that it's gone now. So I'm just can freely improvise. Sure. Thanks, first of all, to you and to everyone, to the artists here and to the people who joined. It's really nice to see that the reception of this has been quite positive. So I guess, this project sees the participation of 29 musicians across 24 different cities in the world. And we worked on that for, I think, a period of 8 weeks in total, probably. And really the idea behind that came from a series of conversations we had just right here. This place is called Post Factory, and it's basically the home for this open research group that we launched in my hometown in Bari, and it's the place you can see in the video whenever I'm playing. And so I guess it's a reflection on. It wants to be a reflection, but also open up kind of questions about the state of the creative community, specifically in music, but also obviously for what we're talking about in terms of multimedia production. And really the thought process goes both ways. I come from a city that in the past decade, and really from a country that in the past decade saw so much creative force just moving away from here. It's estimated that more than 250,000 young people left in the past decade in the whole nation, more of that. This is an estimate of like a couple of years ago. So all of this energy went away at one point, and in the past year or so, found itself coming back to where they started, which was definitely my case after, as you know, many years in London working as a composer. So there was this desire to send a message, kind of like a radar, send a message to the world and see what was coming back, which is really the point of this, creating all of these points of connections, and to explore a method of producing something together that would break kind of geographical barriers that in some way or another were imposed on us. And so it kind of creates a certain reactions, especially locally. We showed this piece last week right here in an in-person premiere, and it still creates an effect when someone who's technically from here and making work from here connects with people on the other side of the globe to create something, especially when you go and look at big urban centers like London, LA, you name it. And so it really wanted to reflect on the power that as a community we have to make something beautiful just with our own strengths, without really asking for permissions or really just coming together. And really all I had to do with this was to coordinate all the greatness that you've seen. And none of that was, I said it at the beginning, but none of that was redacted in any ways, and everyone was really free. And it was just a joy for me every time someone was bouncing back the chain to see how it had evolved into something completely different. And yeah, that's how it came to be, more or less.
That's really amazing and really beautiful. And I think that's actually a good transition to jump over to Sophia, who is Italian and has been now living in the US for a while. I'd love to hear, like, especially hearing kind of Marco's explanation of some of the roots of this and how it's come to be. And I know that you were very excited to get involved very early on. Like, can you talk a little bit about, you know, when Marco approached you and, like, you know, what this kind of has meant to you being a part of it, especially with this idea behind it?
Yeah, you know, what Marco just said about, you know, people from Italy leaving, you know, I left when I was 18, and that was in 2004. And I left because I'm from not one of the bigger, you know, it's a bigger, well-known city because of tourism, but I'm from Florence. And in terms of technology and music, there's just absolutely nothing there. Now there's things that are starting to reopen, and, you know, it's a constant conversation with my family to be like, should we move back and be the change that we want to see, the way that Marco's doing and Post Factory and stuff are doing in Bari. So it resonated a lot, and I really loved this concept, you know, even just kind of on a poetic level of, like, stringing like a thread between all of the world and everyone. And it's like, we're more connected than ever as musicians, but then we're also so isolated because we all spend so much time in our little caves, you know. So it's like we strive for this connection, but then now with the pandemic, it's been so hard. So I found it really interesting, especially when he asked for videos of our surroundings, because, you know, it could have just been like people and studios and whatever, but I really like the idea that with nature and with, like, showing your surroundings, it kind of opened up the world in a way that a lot of us haven't seen in a year and a half, because we've, you know, haven't been able to travel and stuff. And for me, it made me really nostalgic, especially seeing there's somebody that was in Tuscany, and it made me really nostalgic. And yeah, I mean, I was thrilled when Marco reached out, and actually, Arbel, you put us in touch, and we had a lovely hour and a half first conversation. And then, you know, like, this just came up kind of after that. So it's been great to be part of this, and it makes me really, you know, the biggest thing is that it makes me really hopeful, more so than for our community. It makes me really hopeful for Italy, which, you know, sounds really silly, but at the same time, anyone who's Italian understands what I'm talking about. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that's going in the right direction. But yeah, thank you, Marco, for having me. This is really, really beautiful.
That's amazing. Rebekka, I'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, what drew you to be part of this. And you're based in Stockholm, or kind of just outside of Stockholm, and are a wonderful score composer. I think it'd be really nice to hear what your experience is as well, you know, being a composer living in that part of the world.
Yeah, I think, I mean, these ideas come around quite often. Let's do some sort of a stream thing and let's collaborate. But quite often I feel like it's not with that contagious energy and engagement that Marco brought. So I was really compelled by that. I was like, okay, it made it so easy to say yes, because he had so much energy behind it, which was so beautiful, I thought. And then also I really liked the idea of the passing the baton to the next musician, and it made it also very easy to go into the project, because I just decided, okay, I'm going to spend these hours on this piece, and I'm going to totally see what comes from the former piece, which is such a humble and beautiful way of seeing a collaboration like this, I feel. This idea of like a transition, and then your own little space, and then making space for the next person. And I think a lot of musicians are sitting at home. I mean, including myself. I just had my first live recording a few days ago, and I was just, I couldn't sleep, and I was like sobbing in the studio, because I thought it was so beautiful just to be in a room with other people and feel sound waves from one body to another. I mean, oh my God, I didn't realize how much we missed that. And this was a little bit of a substitute for that, or a preview of what is to come, hopefully, what has been and what is to come. So I thought it was really beautiful to be invited, and it was amazing, fantastic thing to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you. I know I've only seen some live music like once at this point, I think, in the last like year and a half, and I am like craving it so badly. That must have been so nice to get to work with musicians again in person.
It took a long time before I could actually concentrate, because it was so overwhelming to just have a string. It was like, oh my God, the sound.
I believe it. I believe it. And EmmoLei, you know, I'd love to hear a bit about, you know, what you felt getting involved in this, and how you feel like your approach tied into where you are in Atlanta. And I do also kind of want to hear from everybody quickly afterwards, like what it is you contributed, like what instrumentation you used and everything. So like I'd love for you to kick that off, because I think that you used a lot of really unique instrumentation, and you introduced some spoken word, and so I'd love to hear about that.
Hi, everyone. So I think my approach, I guess really after talking to Marco and just understanding like what inspired this project, the pandemic also brought me home. And so it was kind of cool to be a part of this, especially with the element where we get to showcase our surroundings and our environment, because I think that with Atlanta, people are used to a specific sound and a specific type of music and art that comes out of this city. And I thought this would be a unique opportunity to showcase something outside of that. And also to connect with other musicians on a global stage. And again, to showcase the different types of music and art that comes out of the city on a global stage. And so Marco's story, just in terms of moving away and coming back, and to bring different things to the city that may have not previously been there, was the parallel and the link there for me. And when he kind of explained everything, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so as far as the instrumentation, I definitely did like a lot of vocal stuff, but I brought in one of my new toys, the Playtronica, which essentially converts like our body's electricity into sound. So I used this, and then the Orba, which is made by Artifon. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that, but they make two instruments. The instrument one and this is their newest toy instrument. But I used those primarily to create my piece. And I also wanted to incorporate like some signature vocalizations. I know you guys heard me say like ATL blank, but that's like a signature phrase from my city, and it's easily recognizable. Everyone is like, when you hear that, that's like Atlanta. But I just wanted to just incorporate things that also were tied to my childhood, because the pandemic brought a lot of change. The city was already changing, but the pandemic brought a lot of change to the infrastructure of the city. And because Atlanta is now becoming, like, the lens is kind of focused on Atlanta, not only for political reasons, but also in the film and entertainment industry. There's a lot happening and coming into the city now that's kind of changing what I grew up seeing and what I experienced growing up. So I wanted to incorporate some landmarks that are pretty much getting ready to go away, and capture that in this timestamp right here, so that it could exist forever. And we could always remember these parts of Atlanta. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. I mean, I think one of the really beautiful things about this whole thing is just how everything that everyone contributed really tied into their surroundings, and it really felt like a global project because of that. Even just getting to see some of the visuals, but I think everyone kind of incorporated a lot of their own style, that a lot of it is potentially influenced by where they're from and where they are, you know, and so I think that's a really beautiful aspect of all of this. So why don't we start back with Marco? Tell us a little bit about, just briefly, like what, you know, you ended up using. I mean, some of it was in the video, but if you know, tell us a little bit about what your portions featured.
Sure. Funny enough, I actually ended up using completely without knowing, and Emily now saw that because we used the same thing. I also used one of these touch sensors at the beginning. I am featured across the video for functionality purposes because the way the matrix system was built to make this performance, as Rebekka was actually saying, was relying on this chain being passed on. But I realized that if I split the chain in 3 parts, it would have progressed much more quickly. And that opened obviously a question about, okay, how am I gonna use the space? Because obviously part of this was about showing what is being made here, but also make it kind of be similar. And using this sort of touch sensor is a big part of what I've been doing here, because we're trying to use this sort of technology to mostly get kids closer to spaces, make it playful. There's so many spaces that need that energy right now here. One thing that happens geographically here is that there's a lot of space. There's just so much space, and you can do amazing things. And so I wanted to show that technology and make it playful a little bit, and that happens in the first and in the third performance, where there were a couple of different setups, and the last one was in the wood making lab, because we build a lot of stuff. So I just gathered all of this stuff that you can see, and some of that were creating MIDI triggers, and some of that was actually being recorded with contact mics, and I just went nuts. And all of that was sitting on a series of generative sequences that were set up on Ableton Live. So they would interact to what I was doing, but they were kind of designed to be kind of almost independent and autonomous. And I don't know, I've been growing fonder and fonder of this sort of interactions with machines where they are kind of sanctions, and they talk to you back, and it's not just like a blackboard and you just write something and it just plays it back. So yeah, that was a combo. I think that was everything.
That's amazing. Sophia, tell us a little bit about what you went with as far as instruments.
Yeah, I feel like I kept it pretty simple, to be honest. Like, I was thinking about trying to incorporate some of the modular synths and some of the other stuff that I have. But when I got the little snippet to work off of, I realized that doing that would then maybe limit the next person. So I use my voice a lot, and I was like, well, I can just do essentially create like a nice pad of like loops and just kind of stuff to then be able to kind of riff off of. And I don't know whether it just magically worked so well, or if Marco worked his magic to make everything work well. But I was, it all sounded so wonderful. And I think it must have been at like one of the break points to like the next one of the 3 branches, because I feel like it all flowed really well. But I essentially I have this vocal pedal, or just this pedal board that I have for all my vocals, that I don't know, we don't have time to go into detail about, so I always tell people to just message me after. But essentially it's I'm going through like a octave like doubler that's an octave lower, and then a reverb called the Blue Sky by Strymon, a pedal called the Polymoon by Maris, a few looper pedals, and then this great pedal called the Microcosm, which can do reverse and looping and stuff. So it was just kind of one take, a 4-minute take that had like multiple iterations of it over itself. And yeah, so kept it kind of simple that way, and kind of analog with guitar pedals. So yeah.
I think that's one of the cool things about this project and performance is, you went into it with potentially an idea of how you were going to approach it, but part of it was the collaborative element. And so you were like, oh, I'm going to listen to what's preceding me, and I'm even going to think about who's going to come after, and like kind of work it into that. And that's, I think, where like that true like collaborative element comes together, because it could easily be 4 people at any given time kind of just doing something, you know, in their own world, but
jamming in their own
totally
moment.
But as we heard and saw, it's just like, I mean, there's just some like really incredible moments throughout that, and it really kind of like, you know, peaks and dips, and then it's just ideas coming through that kind of keep evolving. And I think that's a result of that, people really listening to each other's music and hearing what they're going to be sort of a part of. So I think that's really awesome. And Rebekka, tell us a little bit about your contribution and your performance.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's really saved me this year has been nature. I mean, I live in the nature reservoir, 25 minutes south of Stockholm, and so I don't really have a choice. But it's also been like really a lifesaver, and that's why I kind of decided to do something really organic, and the video snippets are also just on my daily walks in the forest. That's been totally kept me sane this year. I used my voice synth instrument that I've built the last years with contact mics and stethoscope recordings of 25 singers, individual singers, male, female, and non-binary singers. I used that instrument, which I run through Ableton Live through my Eurorack modules. And I also used a lot of my own voice on that, improvising, building layers. And I think I used, on my modules, I think I used like a panharmonium, the Rossum panharmonium, which is like a re-synthesizer spectral thing that slices up. And then the Strymon magneto tape delay, which is really analog and warm and lovely. And I probably used my Morphogene sample too, which is one of the modules. So it's like a combination of Ableton through the Eurorack into Cubase, and then I tweak it more there, and it's like becomes a mayhem of, I don't know, just happens. So,
that's amazing.
That was it, I think.
That's so amazing. Well, cool. I think we can definitely leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to join us. Thank you to our amazing panelists here for this Q&A. I think there was a lot of really beautiful insight, and I'm so happy that all of you were part of this. And Marco, congratulations on putting together something really special and really incredible. I'm excited to see what we can do with this moving forward, what more types of things we can create, you know, and to everyone who joined us, thank you so much for coming to see this. We will put this live online, so people can go back and listen and watch again later as well. Obviously, this needs to be out in the world, so feel free to share it. And I'll give a shout to Post Sound, who produced this. And of course, I'm with Spectra Creative Agency, and we're really excited to present this, and I'm happy to be here hosting. So thank you, everybody. And I guess with that, we'll say ciao.